We don't own anything that we farm, none of the land. We're on three different places. We don't own any of them, and the way it's supposed to be, in my opinion, this style of farming. It started as food, but then now it's like I feel like it's my calling to essentially, care for the earth. I think of the mortgage on like this place, which we got a lot going on. I mean, we can run, quite a bit of birds out here. I don't know if it'd be enough to pay the mortgage, honestly.
So we are in, what city is this?
Sautee-Nacoochee.
Sautee-Nacoochee. I could not pronounce that when you sent me the address. And we just went through a little historic area, and I see that this says the Stovall House.
The Stovall House.
So what's going on? Is there like a lot of history here?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Stovall House has been here since, I want to say, 1837. The people who bought it, I'd say about 10 years ago, have made it into like a Airbnb bed and breakfast. So they bought the place, and we manage the land.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we farm their land, and they serve our food for breakfast. So they do our eggs and
sausage.
Sausage, yeah. So
that's really cool.
yeah, it is. It's been a great partnership.
How did you come into something like that?
We don't own anything that we farm, none of the land. We're on three different places. We don't own any of them, and we kind of started with a small 10 acres, and we were doing everything there, basically cows, chickens, pigs. Georgia's real strict on the poultry laws.
Yeah.
And so we originally did like 350 birds that first year, and
like
we did
meat chickens,
broilers,
broilers. Okay.
And we processed them ourselves, and so we couldn't really market them.
Yeah.
Because it was like, illegal.
Do they have to be like state inspected?
They got to be USDA inspected here.
USDA inspected?
Yeah.
For the state of Georgia?
Because
there's
Georgia,
only one in Georgia now, and they just opened, what, 2 years ago?
Like a couple years ago, yeah. So.
And we're at North Georgia, so where's that at? Where's that processing?
Atlanta, so Loganville, basically. It's about an hour and a half from here.
Wow.
So it's not too terrible, but we're very thankful and glad they opened, because we weren't going to do chickens anymore, essentially, because we just couldn't sell them.
Right.
We processed all those birds ourselves. We were having a hard time selling them because we couldn't really go to.
We gave some to the other farmers that had a store, and the owner here was in their store buying food, and she saw our chicken and came
and was like, oh wow, where'd you get this? Because she's a foodie and was all about, pasture raised chicken. So she saw it, and then she kind of became a customer of ours, started buying eggs and such from us. And then, it just came about like, hey, you want to farm our land? So we're like, yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Well, actually, so when we first got the land over here, we kind of just drove around looking for abandoned land, because I mean, we basically, Holly was working in Atlanta, I was landscaping, had my landscaping company, and then Elon was, she got pregnant with Elon. So it was like, we really didn't want to do the whole daycare, school thing. I had been, we really, when we moved up here, we were real disappointed, because we come from Atlanta. And we were real disappointed in the fact that we couldn't really find the food that we were looking for. And then when we did find it, it was pretty expensive. He was born. We didn't want to do the daycare and all that stuff. So it was like, well, one of us is going to quit our jobs. Her income was pretty steady, so it's like, well, I'll quit mine and got to find something to do. And I had been watching a lot of YouTube stuff. Had been, of course, Joel Salatin, Greg Judy, and it was actually the Justin Rose, the Great American Farm Tour, that was like, I'm like, wow, because he introduced me essentially to Greg Judy and Joel Salatin.
Yeah.
And then Greg Judy it was pretty cool, because he had heard something that really struck a chord with him, and it also struck a chord with me, and it's not about owning the land, but managing it. So that's when we took off, and I heard Salatin say basically the same thing. He was telling some story about some person who went and knocked on all these doors, and out of so many, pretty much everybody said yes. So that's what we did. We just kind of drove around the block looking for abandoned places, wrote down addresses, got home, looked them up, sent out like 4 letters. Out of those 4 letters, one person wrote back, and we met them at the place. They were an out-of-town owner. We said, hey, we'd like to do this, take care of your land, and we'll, give you meat. They said, sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then that one led to this one, and then this one led to the other place that we farm across the creek, which is about 50 plus acres. So.
Wow. So how many acres total are you managing?
Total, let's see, 10, 16. And I mean, if you talk actual pasture land, it's like, that's probably more like 40. So 26, 66, thereabouts. Yeah.
It's almost 70 acres.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You had chickens and you have sheep here. What other animals do you manage?
Goats and pigs.
So you've got it all.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did you want to be like a one-stop shop for all livestock, or did it just fall in that way? What happened? Did you get bit by a bug and couldn't stop?
Well, we started, yeah. So first off, we started looking for the land. Yeah, here's the sheep and, the electric netting or whatnot. We started, let's see, we got the land in like August. Pastured poultry, that's all we were gonna do. I had read the Pasture Poultry Prophets. That's what we were gonna start with. But we got the land in August and it was like, well, we can't run the chickens too late. So let's get some cows. So we got cows. And we had like 4 chickens.
Yeah, 4 chickens and 2 cows.
Yeah, we had
okay. Like were they calves or cows?
We went to the sale
Cows.
barn, yeah. So we went to the sale barn, which was a crazy experience.
Yeah. Was that your first experience ever? Okay.
Yeah, so I went to the sale barn, was there trying to just figure it out, and I just started raising my hand, like whatever, I see something that looks good, and luckily.
Started betting against yourself.
Yeah, luckily, like the serious buyers, I mean, they kind of looked back and was like, just let them have it, whatever. Because I'm just like, I got to get out of here, we got to get two calves. And so that's how I started. We had like 2 calves and 4 chickens, basically just kind of moved those all around the pasture. Then we got a couple of pigs. And then come springtime, meat birds. And then we upped the lamb flock. And I think we went up to like 40 after that. And
what year did you start?
That's a good question. I tell people I've been doing it for 5 years, but I think it's more like 4, but it feels more like 9. So.
So that's just crazy to me that you didn't really start. You started with just a few, and you've worked your way up over the years to what you have now. So. How are you managing your sheep? So you have some perimeter 1 fencing.
Yeah, Premier 1,
Premier 1,
poultry netting. We use the poultry netting simply because we do a lot of chickens. So that way it's like not
dual
trying
purpose.
to.
Yeah, that's nice.
I move them every day. So you can kind of see, they just got here a couple of hours ago, and you can kind of see back here, I mean, they were just down the hill. So this is only
they came up.
Yeah, 2 netting paddock, which is not sufficient on forage alone. I'm dropping hay in as well. So that's what they got. They got mineral, which is kelp meal and salt, and then we do selenium 90 as well from Redmond's, and hay, which they hadn't even touched yet because there's still a little bit of green right here.
Yeah.
But this will be where they're coming next, and then they'll go around and.
Are you able to graze basically all winter up here? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, so I mean the amount of recovery, I mean the grass has really just started, I mean like right down there, you can see it's greening up. I mean it
is very green down there.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, it may have been a month or so now since the cows were there. I mean it was solid brown.
Yeah.
There was nothing, that was all broom sedge, which is this right here, but it was way thicker. I mean, we ran the cows in real tight.
Try to get that cleaned up.
Yeah, and rolled out hay. And we're basically trying to just cover the farm on a 180-day rotation through the winter. So it's tough, you got to do real small paddocks and you got to supplement with hay, but it allows it to rest.
Recovery. Yeah, very cool.
So, but we can just set it down as good.
What I love about temporary fencing.
Poly braid,
is you can just knock it down. You don't have to jump any fences.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So you talk about your management style and then having so many different species. Where did you guys grow up farming?
No,
or
no,
like
no.
why did you decide to start farming? I know you said you needed like a job when your son was born, but why farming? What brought you to it other than just needing better food to eat that's not expensive? Or maybe that's it. Maybe I'm overcomplicating.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, it was started with the food, I would say. And I would say, like, honestly, personally, I feel like it's all very faith-based. So for me, it was, I feel God's led me into this, would be the big thing. Yeah, it started as food, but then now it's like I feel like it's my calling to essentially, care for the earth, for His creation, basically, and do it in a way that and examples that He set before us through nature, with the management intensive grazing, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So you can see the sheep just kind of like mowed all
They
this
do.
down. So
Yeah, it's like bare from the brush and stuff.
And they were only here like a day, but we
That's
just run them tight, and so ideally this will be 180 days before they come back on it. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, so my last job, I was over the road truck driver for a bit. Holly actually worked for the CDC as a microbiologist.
Okay.
That aspect helps a lot, the whole microbiology thing.
I'm sure that does.
Yeah, so she's a scientist, which is awesome, and because we're pretty much just, all of this has been one big experiment, I would say, for the past 4 or 5 years.
Being a microbiologist, how have you applied your professional learnings onto a regenerative organic system? I'm so curious.
Well, it's not like I do soil samples and look at it or anything like that. We don't do any soil testing. It's pretty obvious when you just look at the land after we've been here, 2 years? And you could just see a difference. Like anybody could see a difference. You don't have to be a scientist to know you're doing the right thing. This thing, I don't know, the sedge was just so thick, all the way down. And
it's not now.
I don't know, you don't need a science background for
Okay, so do you think that your science background has helped you at all here, or do you think maybe it's hindered you?
No, neither one.
Okay.
I think it's more neutral. He's the leading farmer here. He's the one that, has the vision. And
do you find yourself questioning some of the things he's doing just out of curiosity, or do you just follow his lead and just kind of let him make the decisions?
I pretty much just follow his lead. If there was something that I was sticking out like a sore thumb, oh, that's obviously wrong, I would say something, but nothing has come
Well,
up.
I think a lot of the times, I don't have the experience, obviously, or the microbiology education, but I know the importance of it. So I'm quite often running things by her, in that regards, as far as, especially bacteria and parasites and stuff like that.
Soil microbiome is very important.
Yeah.
It's like the living earth. If we didn't have anything growing in the soil, nothing could survive.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're more of a sounding board for processes and mechanisms and things.
I think so. Yeah, I pretty much run all the scientific stuff. It's continued education for me. It's pretty much our life. This is all we do is, the focus is regenerative agriculture. Obviously there's different levels, but the deeper down that rabbit hole you go, it's, the less you know, obviously,
right.
But the more you realize that this system is just way more than what we can actually see. I listen to a ton of podcasts and read a ton of material, and so a lot of the stuff, especially all the scientific literature, hey, what does this mean?
Right, right, yeah.
And so she's got the education, the background.
That's really cool to be able to find someone that can really understand it at a deeper level and then help translate that. Because even, I have an animal science degree, and there's things that I read that I'm like, what? What is that saying? I don't understand. So that's really cool that you have, your best friend is helping you out there.
It's
are
really
you still
nice.
Working off farm, or are you both of you on farm now?
We used to be on farm together every day.
No, she's talking about
do you have an off farm job?
Oh, no. We are full-time farmers now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but we've kind of split our duties since we've grown.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not like by a side.
So you're
every day on
sharing the
farm
load.
anymore. Yeah.
Do you have like favorite animals that each of you take care of then, or is it farm-based?
Farm-based. He mainly does the farm stuff, and I do like the deliveries and the markets.
Sales,
Yeah.
all the sales, the inventory, the website, because we're in like 2 different in-person markets. She does both of those. So that's Saturday and Sunday. Two online markets plus our website,
Wow.
which is like the local, the local pickup stuff. So she pretty much does all of that, and the eggs. So
So I do
that's
the
all the
canneling,
canneling
eggplant,
Okay.
and packing.
yeah.
Yep. And then I pretty much do all the farming. So it works really well. She's very good at managing those things, and
And you get to be outside all
yeah, and
with the animals.
And you get to be outside all day. That's awesome.
I'm okay at managing this stuff.
So on that a little bit too, managing the marketing side of it, is that something that you were prepared to have to do when running a farm? Did you you know that was going to have to be so big?
Well, we just kind of grew into it. It wasn't like I
Okay.
got thrown into it. We've been getting bigger and bigger every year, so kind of adjusting as we go.
Did you plan on growing at the rate that you did, or did you want to grow faster or slower?
We're pretty impressed on how fast we grew, actually.
Okay.
Depends on who you ask, man. I mean, like,
Yeah, you want to grow.
yeah, I'm like,
A
go,
lot
go, go,
more.
go,
Yeah.
Do you see the market demand for that?
Sometimes,
Yeah,
I mean, I look at like, I think there's just all kind of avenues. It doesn't have to be, I mean, we're obviously direct to consumer, but also see a lot of opportunity, running cow-calf and selling into the conventional market. Like, I love what we do, but I don't like her job,
Yeah.
and I don't like that part. I just see for us, I see retirement as, a lot of land, not having to deal with any of the market stuff, dropping off a load of calves once a year, a load of sheep, a load of lambs once a year. And,
Yeah.
that's
It's kind of easier that way, going into the commodity side.
yeah. I
You don't
mean,
have to deal with all
obviously,
the people.
yeah, obviously do it regeneratively.
Yeah.
But it's all about management at that point. There's no inputs. I mean, for us, chickens, pigs pays the bills. But long term, I see our grass management paying the bills, and ruminant animals. And, I mean,
Yeah.
everything's done by hand. So it's like, 60 years old. Sure, I can move some poly braid, but I'm not going to be dragging chicken tractors or
Right.
or pulling all this netting all the time.
Right. That's
So,
a good point. That's
yeah.
a good point. Do you see your son picking up some of that slack when you get to that point, or?
Possibly, yeah. And we got an older son.
Okay.
He's 17. He comes out and helps from time to time. And then I'd, be remiss if I didn't mention Ray, Holly's father, who just moved in with us
Okay.
from California, and he helps as much as he can.
Gotcha.
So, and he's a tremendous help. Yeah, well, so the cattle are just in front. Basically, they're almost done. So they actually started back up in this far corner in December. And this is the last little bit going into this fence line over here that they haven't had yet, that's kind of somewhat stockpiled. And we change up all the time. I mean, it's like a constant evolution.
I mean, you're
out
literally
here.
moving them every day. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, but I mean, we kind of change up our ideas and our plans.
Okay.
Like all the
How
time.
so?
The latest plan was we were going to keep the egg layers running between these 2 pastures and run the meat birds up here, simply because of their huts. I mean, we don't have a tractor. We don't have essentially any equipment. It's all,
Okay.
everything's done by hand. So it gets real difficult moving the stuff on this hill.
Yeah.
And then, and also keeping the chickens up with the cows can get difficult. And then, the rotation's constantly changing. So based on season, based
Right.
on what season it is. So winter, we kind of wanted to slow it down. Spring and fall, one of the original ideas was cover the farm in 30 days.
Okay.
And then slow it down to 60 days, middle of summer, and then 180 days over the winter. So
Okay.
so 2 30-day rotations, spring and fall, 60 days in the middle of summer, 180 in the winter. But all that
It's not
kind of just,
working.
well, I'm not gonna say it's not working. It's just, you know, things happen. You know, we learn more,
Yeah.
and we're like, hey, let's try this. I mean, we're just constantly.
Like you said, it's always an experiment.
Yeah,
Like you're
it's
just trying
always an
something new.
experiment. And so right now, I mean, this is working really well, and I got different plans. I don't plan on following that same rotation this year. You know, I've been looking a lot into the whole total grazing.
What's total grazing?
So you got, you know, a whole different lines of thinking, but total grazing is basically saying that you can't really selectively, I mean, you can't not selectively graze if you're not keeping the animals there long enough to put pressure on everything. So most people that implement total grazing, I'd say the most popular one I know of is Jamie Elizondo, if I'm pronouncing his name right, but it makes a lot of sense, you know, when you hear his side of it, and then you have a lot of people like Greg Judy, hey, take half, leave half, or whatever, which also makes sense. You know, you want to keep it covered, but it depends on your rest periods.
Right.
You know, total grazing, it's like right here, this pasture hasn't been sprayed or anything in at least 10 years. They did do a small amount of row cropping down here where the cows and the chickens are, just a little bit a while back. There's a tremendous amount of diversity here, forage wise. And then we're on such a small scale. So it's real difficult to mob graze with 11 cows.
So is total grazing, is that like open gate?
No. It's really small.
It's much smaller.
Yeah, it's management intensive grazing, but you take everything.
Oh,
so you don't.
Okay, I see.
You take everything and then move, and it's much longer rest periods.
I see. A lot more disturbance.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, heavy disturbance. Take it all.
Yeah.
And then move. You know, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
I would say that there isn't necessarily like a right or wrong. And the factors that you've already mentioned, I mean, it's history, your management style, just you as a person, your schedule, but also your climate, your elevations. I mean, you're not going to graze this steep hill the exact same way you do that flat area down there. It's just not going to make sense. So I think it's really cool, especially you not having like a farm background growing up, and maybe that's why you're able to do it this way. It's just figuring out what you like.
Yeah.
Is that right? Like you're just kind of figuring out what you like, which parcel of land prefers one way or another, and you're just trialing it out.
Maybe. I mean, I like it all, honestly. I mean, really, all we want to do is what's best for the soil. And how do you know that? I mean, without trying, without experimentation and trying different methods. And then I'm also a firm believer that you can't just do the same thing all the time.
Right.
So sure, maybe some years you do cover it, you know, fly through, cover in 30 days, and some years you don't. I mean, plants need to express themselves fully. I mean, you know, when it comes to the root exudates and them shooting out different signals to draw in certain bacteria, that, you know, they do that through different stages of their life. So if you never give it the opportunity to fully present itself, then
that's a good point.
Then, you know, you're going to be lacking in that area.
That kind of goes back to what Holly said about not necessarily doing soil testing, but just letting the earth tell you what it needs by observing it. Is there something or certain things that you tend to look out for when you're kind of listening to what the grasses in the soil are telling you?
Actually, I would say it would be, we let the animals tell us more than the soil, you know, because we're not doing soil tests. Body condition, temperament.
Temperament.
Yeah, on the
That's
animals.
an interesting. I haven't heard that one yet. What do you mean by temperament?
Well, if you go down there and the cows are bawling, you know, they don't have anything to eat. So,
okay, that makes sense.
So they need to move.
I guess I was thinking if they were like mad or like being bullies.
Oh, okay,
or
no, just mainly like, I mean, these guys should be quite content because I just bumped them out, you know, which I bumped them out, I don't know, not much, but just moved the line 10 foot, give them some fresh grass, roll out some hay. I would say that is probably the judge, you know, what kind of makes up our mind as to whether we're doing the right things or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I've heard too that there's like plant progressions.
Yeah, absolutely. The successions.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
So every plant has a purpose.
Right.
You know, so if something, the broom sedge is indicative of soil.
Yeah.
So what do? You run the chickens a little harder over that to because of the phosphorus in their manure is going to help
neutralize
the soil and,
Okay.
and then something else is going to come up in the
place. Yep. And
keep looking at. So this is really cool down here. So you've got exact same netting, and it looks like you've got one wire strand for your cows.
Yeah, one wire for the cows. The netting's basically the back fence. I'm essentially bumping the cows out for 3 days before so I'll give them a little bit more every day for 3 days before it's a whole brand new paddock.
Oh.
So for instance, like what we're looking at right here, this is the chicken's second day here. I got to move them, so that'll be the third. So what we're looking at here, the cows had this for basically 3 days. I just bumped the line out every day until we reached this full distance, and then the chickens came into it. And then the same here, you know.
And then you moved them over.
Yeah. And
so this is recovery mode.
Yeah, this is in recovery at this point.
Wow, look at that sagebrush compared to
over here.
there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, this is, I guess the cows were here. If you look at it, they would have been right here about 5 days ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. The chickens would have been here two days ago, I believe.
Your chicken tractors are interesting. Tell me about those.
This is just kind of, I mean, it's probably like what, our third or fourth design. You know, the hill, man, the hill has a lot to do with that. The first one was kind of,
The pyramid
oh,
one?
no. The very first one was like,
For the 4 chickens?
no, yeah, that one. So the little small, yeah, wow, we're on like number 4 or 5 here. But I think it changes every year. Yeah, every year there's
A new chicken tractor?
Yeah, and actually, if we were on the other side, I'd show you my favorite,
Latest
the latest design. Yeah, the very first one was, well, there was only like 4 birds, so it was like a 4x8 actual tractor,
Okay.
you know, that you moved. And then second, we decided to go to the poultry netting. Well, we did the poultry netting, but we would just kind of prop up that chicken tractor to let them in and out. Yeah. Oh, and then we did the 40 layers, and we did the kind of chickshaw, Justin Rose chickshaw type.
Okay.
We got over here, I did that peaked one. That was the pyramid one I did the peaked one, and it collapsed because of the hill, you know. So once you got it up on the hill, it was like too much pressure. Yeah. So we're like, look, man, we don't need anything too difficult, just enough roof space and coverage. So, and wheels. So those wheels are Tractor Supply.
Okay.
Oh no, Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
Casters.
Yeah,
Yep.
Harbor Freight casters, and we just make sure, you know, we got enough roost space for everybody in there and a cover. So, and it works really well because, you know, we're farming remotely, so we don't have to let them in, lock them in, let them out, and we can just come once a day. So the feeders.
Yeah,
you know,
I see the feeders you got in there. Your watering system's actually pretty ingenious. Just setting a bucket out there with the
nipples.
The nipples on it. That's a really good idea.
So the feeders usually last a few days. So we store feed in barrels basically, and then the water will last. We've had more buckets. They'll split over time. But the buckets there will last not quite a full 2 days. And yeah, these we can move by hand.
So these chicken tractors, why do you have the posts way up?
Well,
what is that?
So you can see where those two are on top, and you see the manure load there on top.
Yeah.
So they were roosting on top, and so we were trying to. Well, at first, when we first put these guys out here, they were laying up there. So yeah, and especially like when you're on the hill, you know, they just roll right off and break.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. So you've got the laying boxes there on the
So
on the
now
ground.
we got the rollout.
That's nice.
The hen gear ones, yeah, it's a huge difference, especially on the egg washing.
Yeah.
So, because they're clean.
Right. That's awesome.
And so basically, 3 days, they start there. 1, 2, we'll move them down. Tomorrow, the cows will flop over. I'll pull this netting, run a paddock about this same size, and the chickens will go over. And then they're gonna
go up.
Head up the hill, so.
Very cool. So your calves, so you said you thought about maybe in the future having a cow-calf operation. Are these just calves you get at the sale barn?
So there's 4 steers in there. Well, obviously we don't own any land, so we have to kind of work things out. Mm-hmm. So basically the property across the river, they were, wanting us to manage it, basically. He come over here and saw what we were doing over here. He's like, hey, we're about to close on this place. You want to farm it? I'm like, sure. So I had to kind of lock it down as far as I needed to get animals out there. So I custom grazed for another guy. So I basically ran ads, found somebody that had cows and needed land, and we worked out the contract. I think he paid me cash the first month, and after that I said I'd rather be paid in calves. That's how we got started. So we ended up getting males from him, and then we bought in some heifer calves. Yeah. So
that's really cool. It sounds like that's a common thing that you guys are doing. Like, you're managing the land and giving them meat. You're managing other land and getting calves for it. How do you work out deals like that? Because it just sounds like the amazing bartering system that a lot of people I talk to want to go back to. But then when it comes time to finding people to do it, I feel like it's hard to find people who would do it. So how do you find deals like that? Is it just a conversation, or how do you do that?
I mean, I think the land is pretty easy, and I've only had the experience once with the calves, but I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just
situations
kind of happens.
just kind of pop up.
I'll just say glory be to God on that one.
Yeah, awesome. I love that.
It just makes it happen. I mean,
So you're selling at a couple farmers markets, paying for your leases with your meat. How else are you getting your income from the farmer, or is that just it and that's enough to sustain you?
yeah, that's it. I mean, it's all
Just markets.
yeah, markets. I mean, that's it. The four markets, and then the local sales are kind of slow, but they're picking up. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome.
Chickens pays the bills.
The laying hens?
Well, the meat birds.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Oh, just the meat birds?
Well, the laying hens are steady. Yeah, both of them for sure. But that's the quick, the quick turnaround.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're pretty much out of chicken. We still got breast, but we'll be.
That was the first thing we were always sold out of, was breasts.
Really?
Yes, we couldn't sell the drumsticks to save our lives.
We grind them.
Oh.
And the drumsticks.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, chicken, man. I mean, we did 1,200 this past year. We're going to do like 2,000 this year is the plan.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How does it feel running your own business, being on the farm full time with both of you, and being able to just make your own changes on the fly? How do you feel about that? How do you manage all of that as far as emotionally or with a relationship?
Well, I think it helps that like we both have our own things that we're in charge of.
Yeah.
So Holly's like, I don't try to tell Holly what to do on anything regarding markets, sales, vice versa. I mean, we'll run things by each other, question-wise or whatnot, but yeah, we really don't. I completely trust her judgment in that regards, and I'm pretty sure she completely trusts mine.
So you said in the beginning that it really clicked with you when Greg Judy said it's not about buying the land, it's about managing the land. And you said it just clicked, and I totally understand that feeling, but are there times where you wonder maybe you should buy land, or do you think that you're just gonna keep leasing and have the agreements that you have?
No, I would absolutely love to buy land because there's a lot of challenges, on the whole leasing aspect of it.
As far as the owner's control, or
to some extent.
what challenges?
Well, so one of them is being remote. Even though it's not that bad. I mean, we're not that far. But man, I'd save a lot of time if I could just walk out the front door and start doing chores, because I still have to leave. And then quite often I get home and something happens. I get a phone call. Hey, calves are in, the neighbor's yard or
when
whatever.
You've got the sheriff's number on speed dial and caller ID, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah. So you have no choice but to go. It's not like you can say, oh, I'll get them tomorrow.
Right.
So it does present us as challenges. I would love. Like my ideal situation is a homestead. Basically just, walking out the front door, doing what I got to do to live.
Yeah.
And that's it. Step out, get it done, take it easy in the winters, not have to, kick back, read books or whatever. That's kind of my ideal situation. And who knows, I'd probably try to lease the neighbor's land. As a matter of fact, I know I would, But
it's hard to get an active person to sit down.
But no, it's good. Yeah, I would absolutely love to own our own land at some point. I kind of view that as like retirement.
Or what are the challenges of buying land right now? Is it just
It's
cost?
expensive, yeah. I mean, it's like right here, we're about an hour and a half from Atlanta. And so pretty much when COVID hit, everybody that could work from home, they're like, we should just move to the mountains. It drove prices through the roof up here. It's expensive. I mean, like, there's no way I think of the mortgage on like this place, which we got a lot going on. I mean, we can run, quite a bit of birds out here and sheep. I don't know if it'd be enough to pay the mortgage. Honestly, same with that place over there. I mean,
let alone other living expenses.
Yeah, exactly. When I think of homesteading, I think of like somewhere out in Missouri. It's a little cheaper.
A little flatter.
But at the same time, I mean, the market is what allows us to charge a premium. So I guess it's, give or take. I mean, if we didn't live an hour and a half, if we weren't an hour and a half from Atlanta, it's like if we were just trying to sell what we sell local, no way.
Yeah.
You have to go into Atlanta to get it sold.
I mean, the local markets are okay. Northeast Georgia, locallygrown.net is where we sell in Clarksville. It's a great thing, but still that's like one. There's no way we could do it off of that one, you know. Alpharetta, Suwannee, Avondale, those pay the bills. Those people, they want that food. For us, it's like a numbers game. The way I look at it, there's only a small percentage of people actually care what they eat, for one. And then, out of that, only so many of them actually read the labels. And then out of that percentage, there's only so many that are just gonna, all in. Yeah, we want chemical-free, pasture-raised, no drugs, no sprayed pastures, no anything. You're talking like 2%, if that, of the population. So it's very niche. So the more people, then the better. I think White County is like 30,000 people. Our market share of that might be 1% to 2%, where Atlanta has millions.
Yeah.
So
I think what you guys are doing is just really cool and just adds to the uniqueness of having leased land, and then adding that of how you're paying for the leased land. Like you said, you'd rather trade in cows, not in cash. And I hope that keeps up, and that there are more landowners out there that are able and willing and wanting to bargain in such a way. Do you see that happening? I mean, you said you've turned land around or turned land down. So do you see more landowners wanting their land taken care of a certain way? And do you see the farmers out there ready to take it, or is that what's kind of missing at the moment?
That's a tough question, because, I mean, being in the space, it's like you think that everybody's about it.
Right.
But then you quickly realize that you're kind of
And the neighbors have corn.
all by yourself. So I think the landowners, I think there's plenty of them that want it managed a certain way. I just don't know how many people are willing to do it, because it's work. It's kind of the direction of society and what people think is important. But yeah, I think the land is there for sure, and I think that multi-species grazing, regenerative agriculture is eventually going to be the way. It's been growing for a while now, and it's going to continue to grow. And I think that a lot of the younger generation that, people that do grow up on farms that actually leave the farm and they find out about regenerative agriculture, that's going to kind of bring them back.
Or say if there's a landowner that's thinking about maybe having a farmer manage their pasture, what advice would you give to them?
To the landowner?
To the landowner.
Yonah Mountain Farms at gmail.com. I mean, I say I've turned down some land, and that's strictly because of value that other people have put on it.
What
The
do you
advice
mean?
to the landowner, I would say, would be like, you know, you got to realize it's a tremendous amount of work to do this in the non-conventional way. So sure, if you want somebody to just come and spray the weeds, or do you want somebody to run a herd of goats across them? You know, it's not going to be.
It takes time
Yeah,
to see a difference.
and that as well.
That's a
yes,
good point.
absolutely.
Do you find that that's hard on the landowners, that they don't see, like, you could come out here and spray this field and the weeds would be gone and it'd be beautiful and green, and seed it and it'd be lush, but when you're not doing those things, it takes time. Do you see the landowners having, I don't want to say a hard time, but is it difficult for them, do you think, to not see the immediate changes?
Man, you know, no, not for us. I don't see that as the case of the landowners that we are currently dealing with. The Stovall House, they're awesome, and they are all about regenerative agriculture. Okay. So that helps a lot, that they already know the deal. If
there is somebody who is a farmer and they want to try to find land to lease, you talked about how you guys did it. You wrote letters, and
yep.
you drove around, you found the parcels, and you wrote letters. Is there any advice that you would give to them on maybe topics to talk to the landowners about, or keywords to use, or how to go about that to get land? For
us, you know, the first one, I guess, just kind of got the ball rolling. We really haven't had to seek land since then, but the very first one, what we did was we looked for abandoned, you know, just that it wasn't taken care of. We started right here at home, and we were like, okay, let's just drive around the block. I think we wrote down, you know, 25 addresses or whatnot. Wow. But then I got home, I was like, well, which ones do we really want, you know? And I wrote 4 letters. And I can't give the credit anywhere but to God, you know what I mean? Because it's like, wow, you know, so I think that anybody that wants to do it, you just got to, I would do that. I would even talk to other farmers, because I've thought about, hey, let's just do chickens. You know, chickens pay the bills, and we'll just find you a cattle farmer, right? And show them what chickens. Put chickens behind them. That's a good idea. Show them what chickens can do, and most of them already know, especially in this area, because they go buy get the chicken house litter to spread on their pastures. It's like, well, you know, let me run my pasture bird. You know, start there. So many of these enterprises are stackable. Mm-hmm. You know, so many like established cattle farmers, it's like, well, you know, talk to them and run sheep. Anything really, any
That's
other.
That's a really good idea. I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, just because a piece of land is technically in use doesn't mean that you can't add to it.
Yeah, or you know, graze corn stalks. You know,
that's a good point.
There's a lot of forage right there, and then this guy's just going to come and have to spray all that. Well, to plant his crop. Well, if you run 6 months out of the year, you could run sheep, or goats, or even cows. Probably couldn't do that many,
right?
But you could sure do a lot of sheep. You know?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, and what's it doing? Just sitting there.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So much. I have really enjoyed this. The views that you guys have,
it's amazing.
I think would make it worth it no matter what you're doing. You could be growing out, I don't know, weeds if you wanted, and the views would make it worth it. But this has been so great meeting you guys and getting to know about you, and I'm so excited to share what you are doing and the good advice that you have, and it's just really cool what you guys are doing. So thank you so much for letting me come out here.
Absolutely, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.